carefully constructed image surrounding Kody Brown's household now appears to be unraveling at a remarkable and deeply revealing pace, and what makes this moment particularly striking is that the disruption has not emerged from the familiar figures who have historically challenged the family structure, such as Christine, Mary, or Janelle, but rather from within the very environment that was once portrayed as unwaveringly loyal, protected, and emotionally secure. For years, Robyn Brown cultivated a narrative built upon the foundations of protection, devotion, and absolute allegiance, particularly when it came to her daughters, Aurora and Brianna, who were raised within what many observers have described as a carefully controlled and highly insulated domestic sphere. This environment was designed, at least outwardly, to shield them from conflict, negativity, and what was often framed as the destabilizing influence of the wider family dynamic. Yet in doing so, it also limited their exposure to alternative perspectives, relationships, and experiences that naturally shape emotional maturity and independence. The emphasis on loyalty to a singular household narrative created a space where questioning, curiosity, or deviation from the established viewpoint appeared not only discouraged but subtly framed as disloyalty. However, human nature does not easily submit to prolonged restriction, and over time even the most tightly managed environments begin to reveal fractures, particularly when those within them reach adulthood and begin to develop their own sense of identity, awareness, and emotional autonomy. Reports and widespread speculation suggest that a significant turning point in this evolving situation may have been influenced by Janelle Brown's recent personal transformation, often described as a striking and confident resurgence characterized by renewed independence, visible happiness, and a sense of fulfillment that stands in stark contrast to the more constrained atmosphere associated with Kody and Robyn's household. In an era dominated by digital connectivity, where social media platforms effortlessly transcend physical and emotional boundaries, such transformations are not easily concealed, and even those within controlled environments inevitably become aware of them. Despite the long-standing efforts to maintain distance and limit engagement, it appears that Aurora and Brianna have quietly observed these developments, witnessing a version of family life that is defined not by restriction or tension but by openness, warmth, and genuine connection. The contrast between these two narratives, one rooted in control and preservation, the other in growth and emotional freedom, has seemingly prompted a deeper level of reflection. What was once accepted as normal may now be viewed through a more critical lens, as exposure to alternative ways of living introduces questions about autonomy, belonging, and the natural human desire to connect beyond imposed limitations. This moment, therefore, is not merely about external influence or isolated incidents but represents a broader psychological shift, one in which previously unquestioned beliefs begin to be re-evaluated, and where the very foundation of a carefully maintained narrative starts to weaken under the weight of lived reality and emerging self-awareness. As this situation continues to unfold, it has reportedly extended beyond quiet observation and internal reflection into moments that have captured wider attention, particularly within media and production circles where narrative shifts often carry significant implications. During a highly anticipated interview setting, Robyn presented her familiar perspective, reinforcing the themes that have long defined her public persona, namely stability, protection, and the assertion that her household remained successfully insulated from external influence. This presentation, characterized by calm confidence and a reiteration of established talking points, appeared to reaffirm the narrative that had been carefully maintained over time. However, the situation took an unexpected and consequential turn when evidence surfaced suggesting that Aurora and Brianna had, in fact, engaged, albeit discreetly, with Janelle's public content online. These interactions, described as supportive, positive, and quietly affirming, stood in direct contrast to the narrative that had been consistently presented, thereby introducing a layer of complexity that could not easily be dismissed or explained away. The implications of such a revelation are significant, as it challenges the credibility of the established narrative while simultaneously raising questions about the extent to which control can truly be maintained in an interconnected world. This development places Robyn in a particularly delicate position, as any response carries inherent risks. A strict or punitive reaction could reinforce existing perceptions of control and emotional restriction, potentially validating criticisms that have been voiced by both viewers and former family members. Conversely, a more passive or accepting response could be interpreted as a weakening of authority, suggesting that the carefully maintained structure is no longer as stable as it once appeared. This creates a complex and highly visible dilemma, one that is further intensified by the presence of an engaged and observant audience that continues to analyze, interpret, and discuss every development. At the same time, broader conversations have begun to emerge among viewers and commentators, many of whom interpret these events as indicative of a generational shift in values and expectations. Young adults, particularly those in their 20s, are naturally inclined towards independence, self-expression, and the pursuit of authentic relationships that align with their evolving identities. The notion that they might quietly explore connections beyond their immediate environment is not only understandable but entirely consistent with broader social patterns. Furthermore, industry speculation suggests that producers may recognize the narrative potential inherent in this evolving dynamic, with discussions reportedly taking place regarding the possibility of offering Aurora and Brianna independent platforms or interview opportunities. Such a development would represent a significant shift, providing them with the opportunity to articulate their own perspectives in their own words, free from external influence or oversight. This possibility introduces an additional layer of tension, as it raises important questions about the boundaries between private family dynamics and public storytelling, as well as the extent to which individual voices may eventually reshape the broader narrative that has, until now, been tightly controlled. At its core, this unfolding situation serves as a compelling exploration of deeper themes surrounding control, identity, autonomy, and the long-term consequences of emotional restriction within a family structure that has long relied on clearly defined roles and expectations. Both Cody and Robin have, over time, demonstrated a consistent preference for structure, loyalty, and adherence to a unified narrative, believing that such an approach fosters stability and cohesion. While this perspective may indeed stem from a desire to maintain order and protect the integrity of their household, it also carries inherent limitations, particularly when it comes to accommodating individual growth and self-expression. Environments that prioritize conformity over autonomy can, over time, create a sense of emotional confinement, where individuals feel unable to fully explore or articulate their own thoughts, feelings, and identities. Observers have noted that when individuals, especially young adults transitioning into independence, are subjected to sustained pressure to conform, the desire for freedom often intensifies rather than diminishes. This appears to be reflected in the current circumstances, where even seemingly minor actions, such as engaging with social media content or expressing subtle forms of support, take on greater symbolic significance as indicators of a broader internal shift. In contrast, figures such as Janelle and Christine represent an alternative approach to family dynamics, one that is characterized by openness, adaptability, and an emphasis on emotional authenticity. Rather than enforcing loyalty through structure or expectation, their approach allows relationships to develop organically, guided by mutual respect, trust, and genuine connection. This contrast has become increasingly visible, not only within the family itself but also among the wider audience, many of whom interpret these differing approaches as reflective of broader philosophical differences regarding parenting, relationships, and personal growth. Ultimately, the situation underscores a fundamental truth that extends far beyond this specific context. Relationships cannot be sustained through control alone. Genuine connection requires an environment in which individuals feel seen, heard, and free to make their own choices, even when those choices differ from established expectations. Whether the current developments represent a temporary moment of tension or a more permanent turning point remains uncertain, yet they undeniably mark a significant stage in an ongoing and highly complex narrative. As events continue to unfold, the focus may gradually shift from external conflicts to internal realizations, highlighting the evolving nature of identity, the importance of autonomy, and the enduring human desire for connection, understanding, and emotional freedom.